After 60, a woman's body begins to speak more subtly, yet more truthfully. The knees don't bend as easily. The skin doesn't bounce back like it used to. And sometimes, the mind feels a little more restless, more fog, less focus. These aren't signs of weakness. They're reminders. Reminders that this next chapter, while softer, requires a different kind of strength. One rooted in nourishment, intention, and the quiet power of listening to your own needs. In this stage of life, food becomes more than fuel. It becomes medicine. It becomes memory. It becomes a daily act of self-respect. For women over 60, the right foods can reduce joint pain, support bone strength, brighten the skin, improve digestion, and bring a surprising calm to the nervous system. And the good news? You don't need trendy powders or expensive pills. Just simple, powerful ingredients that have stood the test of time. In today's video, we'll explore 6 of those foods, nutrient-dense choices backed by science, inspired by real seniors across Europe and America, and supported by elderly wisdom passed from one generation to the next. Whether you're living alone, with family, or in a senior community, these foods can be added to your weekly rhythm with ease and purpose. If you appreciate this kind of motivation, grounded in real life and practical inspiration, consider subscribing to Elderly Reflections. We share stories, senior health tips, quotes, and life lessons from the elderly because aging is not about slowing down. It's about rising into who you really are. Among the many foods a woman over 60 can choose, few are as complete, as forgiving, and as quietly transformative as fatty fish. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, these aren't just options for your plate. They are tools of longevity. Fatty fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially EPA and DHA, which play a direct role in reducing inflammation, maintaining joint flexibility, boosting brain health, and improving skin's ability to retain moisture and elasticity. For the senior woman whose body has weathered decades of work, caregiving, worry, and resilience, these nutrients are not just beneficial, they're restorative. Science supports this wholeheartedly. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that older adults who consume omega-3s regularly experience lower levels of joint pain and improved mobility. The Journal of Alzheimer's Disease reports that DHA is associated with better memory retention and delayed cognitive aging. And dermatologists from California to New York have observed that patients over 60 who eat fatty fish weekly report softer, better hydrated skin over time, especially during dry seasons or after menopause. Now picture Alice, 72, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. She spent most of her adult life raising 4 children, volunteering at her church, and managing the household. But after turning 70, she began noticing sharp pain in her knees every morning and patches of dry, itchy skin around her chin and jawline. At first, she blamed it on age. "I figured it was just the price of getting older," she told her doctor during a wellness visit. But her doctor asked a simple question: "How often do you eat fish?" Her answer? Maybe once a month, and usually fried. That's when everything began to change. With the support of her granddaughter, who handled the grocery shopping, Alice began adding baked salmon to her meals just twice a week. At first, it felt strange. She'd grown up on red meat and potatoes, not seafood. But after a few weeks, something shifted. The tightness in her knees lessened. She could stand up from the couch with less effort. The dry patches on her face faded. Her hair even looked shinier. "I felt like something inside me was loosening up," she said. "Like my body wasn't fighting itself anymore." It didn't take a major diet overhaul. Just a quiet addition, a single meal, twice a week, filled with the right kind of fat. There's a reason cultures with high fish consumption, like the Mediterranean and Okinawan diets, are consistently linked to graceful aging and lower chronic disease. For senior health, fatty fish is not just food. It's protection. It's mobility. It's skin resilience and mental clarity bundled into a modest fillet on your plate. To incorporate it, choose wild-caught varieties when possible. Bake, broil, or steam rather than frying. Pair with leafy greens or roasted vegetables. And if fish isn't your preference, consider a high-quality fish oil supplement, but always check with your doctor before starting one. What matters most is the omega-3s, not how fancy the preparation is. For women like Alice, and perhaps for you, adding fatty fish isn't about chasing youth. It's about honoring your body with what it needs and giving it permission to feel good again. Tiny, round, and deeply blue, these berries carry an unexpected power, one that touches everything from memory to skin to emotional calm. For women over 60, blueberries are more than a health food. They're a quiet, daily act of nourishment for the mind and soul. Blueberries are rich in anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their vibrant color. These compounds are potent antioxidants, protecting your cells from oxidative stress, one of the leading causes of aging in the brain and skin. Harvard's Nurses' Health Study followed over 16,000 women for 2 decades and found that those who ate blueberries regularly experienced slower cognitive decline. Another study from the University of Cincinnati showed that daily blueberry consumption improved memory and brain activation in older adults. But the benefits aren't just cerebral. Blueberries are also high in vitamin C, which supports collagen production, key for maintaining skin elasticity and minimizing wrinkles. Their anti-inflammatory effects also help reduce puffiness, redness, and the subtle bloating that makes skin appear tired. Let's meet Carol, 70, from Asheville, North Carolina. A retired music teacher with a love for baking and long walks, she began to worry when her memory started slipping. I'd forget where I put things, my recipes, even people's names. It scared me, she said. She tried crossword puzzles and brain games, but nothing seemed to stick. Then her neurologist recommended something surprisingly simple, a daily serving of blueberries. He told me not to expect miracles. Carol laughed, but that small things add up. So Carol began adding half a cup of blueberries to her breakfast oatmeal every morning. Sometimes fresh, sometimes frozen. Within a month, she noticed she was finishing sentences more confidently. Her mood felt steadier. She wasn't snapping at her husband as often. And when her daughter asked what had changed, Carol pointed to the blue specks in her cereal. These little guys, she smiled. The mental clarity wasn't the only shift. Her skin looked brighter, less sallow. The circles under her eyes faded slightly. And she slept more soundly, likely thanks to the berry's ability to help regulate blood sugar and reduce late-night cortisol spikes. Blueberries are also incredibly convenient. No prep, no fuss. Just rinse and eat. You can mix them into yogurt, blend into smoothies, or freeze them for a cool afternoon snack. And unlike many supplements, there's no mystery ingredient, just a fruit that your grandmother probably picked by hand. For women like Carol, blueberries became a bridge back to herself. They didn't erase the years. They didn't promise miracles. But they gave her body what it needed to feel more stable, more awake, and more peaceful. In the world of elderly wisdom, sometimes the simplest routines are the ones that carry the most weight. And when it comes to food, nothing is simpler or more quietly powerful than a handful of blueberries. There's a gentle dignity in the way avocados nourish the body, no sharp flavors, no loud colors, just smooth, earthy richness. For senior women, especially after 60, avocados are one of the few foods that give back more than they ask. Their monounsaturated fats are heart-healthy, supporting arteries that have weathered decades of hard work. Their magnesium relaxes muscles, eases restless legs, and calms the mind at night. But perhaps the most overlooked gift of avocados is what they do to the skin from within, bringing hydration, reducing dullness, and softening lines that have deepened over time. One study from UCLA found that women who consumed 1 avocado per day for 12 weeks showed improved facial elasticity and firmness. And unlike topical creams, this change starts at the cellular level. Think of the skin as a garden. If the roots aren't nourished, The flowers will wither no matter how much you water the surface. Evelyn, 67, from Santa Fe, started eating avocados as part of a larger commitment to aging with intention. After years of putting others first, her late husband, her children, the patients she nursed, she realized her own body was calling for attention. "I didn't want to look younger," she told her friend over coffee. "I just wanted to feel like myself again." The ritual began slowly. 1 ripe avocado per week, then 2. She'd mash it into her eggs, slice it over lentil soup, even blend it with cocoa and honey to make a rich pudding. Over time, the effects weren't just physical. She smiled more, slept better, began to journal again. The avocado, in her words, became a soft yes to myself. There's something ancient about walnuts, almost sacred. Their ridged shells, their rich, slightly bitter taste, their deep connection to the earth, they carry the memory of time. And time, for a woman over 60, is both a gift and a weight. Walnuts lighten that weight, especially when it comes to brain health. Packed with plant-based omega-3s, polyphenol, and vitamin E, walnuts reduce oxidative stress in the brain and support synaptic function. Clinical studies have linked walnut consumption to better processing speed, attention span, and verbal recall in older adults. But the benefits go beyond science. There's comfort in the act of cracking a walnut, in holding the weight of it, in knowing you're choosing something ancient and wise. Darlene, 73, had a tradition. Every afternoon, she'd sit by her kitchen window with a small bowl of walnuts, raisins, and dark chocolate chips. No screens, no distractions. Just light, music, and the sound of the world outside. At first, it was just a snack, but after a few weeks, she noticed her nightly tossing and turning had softened. Her dreams became clearer. She could recall them in the morning. Her hands, stiff from arthritis, felt a bit looser. "I thought it was the chocolate," she joked, but it was the walnut. That's the root of it all. Her granddaughter, a psychology major, later explained how walnuts increase BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which supports memory and emotional resilience. Darlene didn't need the science. She felt it. She was no longer forgetting birthdays. She was remembering songs from childhood, recipes from her grandmother. "The walnuts," she said, "reminded me that memory isn't just data. It's who we are." Thick, cool, and quietly comforting, Greek yogurt is one of those foods that speaks to the gut, the bones, and the mood in one single, gentle voice. For senior women, this triple benefit is crucial. Aging naturally brings lower calcium absorption, slower digestion, and more fragile emotional rhythms. Greek yogurt meets all of that with strength and softness. Its high protein content helps maintain muscle tone, vital for preventing falls and maintaining mobility. Its calcium strengthens bones that have thinned over time. And its probiotics support gut health, which recent neuroscience confirms is directly linked to mood regulation and inflammation control. Sandra, 69, began eating Greek yogurt not for health reasons, but because she missed her mother. She used to make homemade yogurt every Sunday, Sandra recalled. "The smell, the tang, I missed that." So she bought a small container of plain Greek yogurt and stirred in a spoonful of her mother's jam. The taste brought her to tears, but it also brought her something else: regularity, less bloating, and more energy. Over time, she began using it as a base for dips, as a topping for roasted sweet potatoes, even as a substitute for sour cream. Her friends at the community garden noticed she seemed more present. She wasn't just thinner, she was brighter. Her skin looked clearer. Her laughter came more easily. It wasn't about diet, Sandra explained. It was about connection. To my body, to my past, and to the comfort of something cool and real at the start of each day. In a world obsessed with the latest diets, powders, and miracle trends, oats seem almost invisible, too plain, too humble. But perhaps that's why they work so well. There's no ego in a bowl of oats, just quiet strength. For senior women, especially after 60, oats offer something rare: stability. Rich in soluble fiber, especially beta-glucan, oats slow down digestion, regulate blood sugar, and reduce LDL cholesterol. That means fewer dizzy spells in the morning, steadier moods throughout the day, and stronger protection for the heart. But oats don't just nourish the body, they calm it. They're warm. Soft texture feels like reassurance, like the kind of care you'd offer a child or a dear friend. Jeanette, 71, from Eugene, Oregon, had spent most of her retirement flitting between toast and tea in the morning, often skipping breakfast altogether. I didn't feel hungry, she said, and I thought I didn't need much anymore. But after experiencing a sudden faint spell during her morning walk, her doctor traced the issue to blood sugar swings. That's when Jeanette rediscovered oats. She started with overnight oats, soaked in almond milk, topped with walnuts and frozen blueberries. Then, on weekends, she'd make slow-cooked steel-cut oats, adding a pinch of cinnamon, ground flaxseed, and a drizzle of honey. Within 2 weeks, she noticed she had more energy before noon. Her digestion, once irregular and sluggish, became gentle and predictable. But the real shift was deeper. She started waking up early, not with dread, but with purpose. That bowl, she said, became a morning ritual. It wasn't just food. It was me arriving in my own life. Science supports her story. The fiber in oats helps reduce inflammation markers, supports gut health, and even influences serotonin production, the mood-regulating chemical often depleted in older adults. Their low glycemic index means you're not spiking and crashing all day, and their magnesium content supports muscle and nerve function. For postmenopausal women, oats offer a way to manage weight, mood, and energy naturally without harsh restriction or discomfort. They're also incredibly versatile. Blend them into smoothies, bake them into muffins, or use oat flour for pancakes. And unlike processed grains, oats retain their integrity, just like the women who choose them. Jeanette isn't alone. Across America, many senior women are quietly returning to oats, not as a diet fad, but as a way to slow down, to ground themselves. One woman in Tennessee stirs hers with turmeric and coconut milk to ease joint inflammation. Another in Maine adds chopped apple and cloves, calling it her memory bowl. Each version becomes a ritual, a rhythm. Something that doesn't just nourish, but remembers. And maybe that's the true gift these foods offer. Not perfection, but presence. Fatty fish for your strength, blueberries for your clarity, avocados for your glow, walnuts for your memories, yogurt for your core, oats for your steadiness. Together, they form a circle of care, simple, real, human. After 60, so much changes. Routines, hormones, relationships, sometimes even identity. And in that change, it's easy to feel like the world is moving faster than you can keep up. But food, the right food, can anchor you. It can remind you that even when joints ache, when sleep is broken, when the mirror surprises you, there are still choices, still ways to respond, still rituals that say, I matter. In the Elderly Reflections community, we often say that aging isn't about doing more, it's about choosing better. Choosing to sit down for breakfast instead of eating on the go. Choosing to buy a ripe avocado instead of processed snacks. Choosing to take 5 minutes for a quiet bowl of oats instead of skipping another meal. These choices aren't glamorous. They won't make headlines, but they will make mornings gentler, skin softer, joints more forgiving, and minds a little clearer. There's wisdom here, elderly wisdom. The kind passed down not in textbooks, but in lived experience. From grandmothers who cooked with their hands. From widows who had to learn to care for themselves again. From caregivers who finally turned inward and realized, I, too, need tending. And if there's one thread that runs through every story we've shared in this series, it's this: healing is not a sprint. It's not something you do once and forget. It's a rhythm, a choice made quietly day after day, with foods that ask little but give much. These 6 foods aren't miracles. They're invitations. Invitations to return to your body, to partner with it, to listen when it whispers, to soften when it stiffens, and to offer it what it's earned, not just in nutrients, but in kindness. So yes, eat your salmon. Sprinkle those blueberries. Slice that avocado. Crack the walnuts with care. Stir the yogurt gently. Warm the oats with love. Do it not because you need to fix anything, but because you're worth sustaining. You're worth soft mornings and steady breath. You're worth rituals that remind you, I am still here, and I still choose me. By the time we reach 60, we've lived through seasons of sacrifice, of love, of loss. We've cared for others, worried more than we needed to, and often placed ourselves last. But what if this next chapter is different? What if aging isn't about fading, but about focusing? Returning? Nourishing not only the body, but the story it carries? These 6 foods, simple, honest, and powerful, aren't about chasing youth. They're about showing up for yourself with grace. They're about senior health, yes, but also emotional steadiness, memory, and dignity. They are the quiet motivation behind stronger bones, softer skin, calmer minds. They are living quotes from nature, echoing the wisdom of the elderly. Take care of what carries you. So let your meals be small acts of self-respect. Let every spoonful, every slice, every bite say, I am still becoming, because you are. If this reflection touched you, please like this video, subscribe to Elderly Reflections, and join our growing circle of shared wisdom, life lessons from the elderly, and inspiration for living fully, right here, right now. And leave a comment below. Where are you watching from? We'd love to hear your story, your journey, and what you're adding to your plate this week. Because this community isn't just about food. It's about remembering what still nourishes us most: choice, care, and connection.